Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this week's installment of the Homes and Money Realtor Mastermind. I have a very fun and special guest today, Ragan McKinney. And Ragan brings, just like our other guests, just a wealth of knowledge and some unique insight to this market. And so, Ragan, welcome. Thanks for being a guest today. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. This is fun. I love talking about real estate, so this should be fun.
Yeah. Okay. So my first question, Ragan, is where are you from? Are you generally from Cincinnati to start, or?
I am. So I'm actually from Hamersville. It's about 30 miles east of Cincinnati. It's so big that we don't even have a stoplight. Very rural. Always grew up with very few neighbors, if any. Very, like I said, rural. I did just get married in August, so we have moved into a subdivision, which has been an adjustment for me. But born and raised in Brown County. I have lived in Anderson for a few years through college. I did live in Kentucky. I went to NKU, so I lived over there for 3 years, but born, raised, and pretty much been in Brown County all my life.
Awesome. And so went to NKU, and how did you get into real estate?
So right out of I cheered, was on the dance team at NKU, which is how I ended up there. Wanted to go to University of Florida, but they didn't present the same opportunities that NKU did. So that's how I ended up there. I studied broadcast journalism and business management with a minor in marketing. I ideally wanted to be a news anchor. I worked at Channel 9 for 4 years. I worked for Clear Channel, which is like, I think it's 107.1 now and Mix 94.1. I worked in their broadcasting department, and then I got an anchor job at Fox 45 in Lima right out of college. Then I just realized that family is really important to me. I wasn't ready to move away. I knew I wanted to have a family. I didn't want to work on Christmas Day and Mother's Day and things that were important to my family. So I went back to work in the family business. My parents own a convenience store, and I was 20, so that didn't work out. Opened a restaurant, ran that for 17 years. And in the meantime, real estate was like a byproduct of what I was doing. I didn't have a 401k or anything like that. So I was buying rentals and I was buying flip houses, or it was on HGTV or anything cool like that. And actually my grandma was helping me do it. We were physically laying the tile, painting, doing the work. Sold my first house and made a pretty good chunk of money for being 20. And that's where I got my taste. So ran the restaurant, raised 3 kids, because it was part of the family business and nice and safe. And then in 2015, I just knew that I was meant for something bigger. And I always had issues with agents calling me back. Obviously, my properties I was buying wasn't super high end, so they didn't really want, and I was young, so they didn't want to fool with me. So I decided in 15 to get my license, and I was just going to work for myself. I quickly realized that I needed to have a broker. So I went to Huff, and they gave me an opportunity. And I had a friend of mine that I went to high school with who asked me to list her house, and it had been on the market with another local realtor for months. I listed it, sold it right away, and in the small community kind of became a big deal. So that's where I got like my taste, and it's just really honestly like just spiraled after that. I don't even know where like the last 6-ish years have went. I jumped in both feet and took off running, and I love it.
That's great. And so then at what point in the last 6 years did you decide it's time for me to build a team? What were the factors that kind of led you to that? And then where did you who was your first hire? Where did you get information on how to do that, et cetera?
So I'll just be brutally honest. Like I said, I was a single mom, 3 kids, young kids, and jumped into this both feet. I was doing everything 100% by myself. So again, 3 kids. I still had the restaurant at the time, so I was doing that. I was running buyers, I was doing sellers, and then I was basically staying up all night doing the paperwork, getting it in Sky Slope and all the things that your brokerage requires. And I kind of hit a wall. I can remember where I was sitting. I was at the parking lot at Huff, and I just said, I've had enough. Like, I wasn't doing it for the money. Obviously, the money's nice, but it's a byproduct. I got so wrapped up in not being able to tell people no and being able to help people that I was crashing. So I had a friend of mine, I was like, I'm done. I'm bowing out of this. And they introduced me to a coaching program called the Core Training. I don't know if you've heard of that, Rick Ruby.
Yep.
Wasn't really interested. Had a call from a girl named Kendra, who's now really good friends with, and we were really good friends now. And it took me about a year. I thought it was kind of goofy. I had no idea what it was. I certainly wasn't going to pay somebody to tell me how to run my business. And went to the summit. And I know this all sounds like hogwash. I'm not here to sell you on this coaching program by any means, because get any kind of kickbacks or anything, but it basically saved me and it built my business. So that's who taught me how to grow a team. My first hire was an assistant, to answer your question, and basically just started delegating anything I didn't want to do, or like, and it was grocery shopping. It may be go wash the car, anything that like took a little bit off my plate so I could focus full on real estate. After that, it was a TC, and then another TC, and then a buyer agent. And now we're staffed with an operations manager, which is Christy. We have a listing coordinator that does just the listings. We have 2 TCs, and then we have 6 buyer specialists that work with the buyers, and then I do all the listings. So when I was with at Huff, I only had the assistant and a TC, and I grew the team mainly after we opened our own firm.
Awesome. Yeah. So a coaching program is kind of what helped walk you through who, when, et cetera. Yeah, that's great. I have
100%.
Yeah, I have a really funny Rick Ruby story that we'll talk about offline, but yeah. Yeah.
I can only imagine. Have you done the core?
No, I have not. I actively coach for another program.
Okay.
That, because I own the mortgage business and then coach as well. But I had been to a couple of conferences where they spoke, and then reached out to Rick personally and had some interaction, but we'll talk about that offline. So 6 years, it sounds like you've had, if my quick counting was correct, you've got 3-4 TCs and then some buyers agents. What ultimately kind of challenged you to build your own brand, and what does that look like for you today? I don't think you're with Huff anymore. Or what is your brand look like? And yeah,
I own my own firm, so it's called Ragan McKinney Real Estate. 100% unintentionally. I never woke up one day and said, I'm going to own my own brokerage. I'm going to be a broker. I just wanted to sell real estate. Huff had some management transitions when I was I was doing a lot of business. I was the #1 agent in all of Huff. I was rookie of the year, and I was just out running my tail off. And we got a new agent, and it became very number motivated. And I know there's a bottom line with every business because I own one. But I also know that if you have a good intention behind it, that it's going to kind of take care of itself. And it became very numbers oriented, commissions and processing fees, and everything was escalating. And then my marketing that they were paying for had got cut back, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And, I work for the people, not the company. And we just realized I had kind of outgrew them. So I'm grateful for the foundation that they gave me. Definitely some really good people that I still am in contact with from there. So I'm very grateful for that platform to get me started, but decided, just literally woke up one day and decided that it was time. So we ripped the Band-Aid, and I've learned a lot. Let's just say when I started the firm, I had bought a little house here in Mount Orb that we were already renovating. When I decided that we were going to open our own brokerage, we had dirt floors. Like, we were completely under renovation. I needed a building. I needed a sign. I needed SkySlope. I needed DocuSign, whatever we were using. So it's not just as easy as just opening your own business, but I had 14 days to transfer 52 listings, which through Huff, to let all my clients know and to try to figure out how to open a brokerage while not being a broker yet. So there are programs that will help people make that transition. So I went through that. did get my broker license, so I am the acting broker here, and just have kind of built it. We're really big on culture here. I'm not looking just to add a bunch of agents. I want people that fit our culture and represent, our core beliefs on what we're trying to do. We're big in the community. Really like to, we know who supports us and why we are where we are. So we try to give that back. So yeah, that's how I ended up. It was quite the messy show.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just guessing, how old were the kids when all this was going on?
So they're 14, 16, and 18 now. It was 3 years ago. So 10, yeah. So it was, I started selling in 15. So, they were younger. But when I opened my own brokerage, I didn't per se go in and say, I'm going to open my own brokerage. Health basically presented me with an ultimatum, and I made the decision that wasn't working for me. Not probably fully thinking and walking out of that office like, oh my God, what did I just do? So I had at that point 3 full-time employees who were, on me to feed their families. Christy Beard, which is my operations manager. I mean, she's been my assistant. She's been my TC. Now, I always say like it's my name on the sign, but she's a real boss here. She keeps everybody in line. She keeps everything on task. She's probably the one that made me do this. I'm just kidding. But, she was here working on a picnic table bench with a chair out of the dumpster on a dirt floor from the get-go. And that's the truth. That's how we started. So we're very proud of how far we've come, but we're not done.
That's an awesome story. So just a follow-up, and I'm diverting from the questions we talked about for a second, but did you have to seek counsel or advice from a different coaching company, or was the coaching company that you had able to kind of walk you through, now being a business owner and a broker and all of the details that come with that? Were there other people that kind of mentored you through this?
There's 100% the core. And again, I'm not any longer in the core. I'm still friends with people. I still go to Rick's events, but I'm not doing it actively. And I don't get paid to say this, and I don't get anything if you go sign up for it. But and the verbiage they use is surrender to the process. My business quadrupled. They basically teach you how to build a business. I knew how to sell real estate. I didn't know how to run a business. And even though I had run the family business, it was completely different. And learning to delegate. I've been raised that you don't pay somebody to do something you're capable of doing yourself. And I had to get rid of that mindset and understand that leveraging time for money was going to be the biggest benefit for my business, but my clients too. I can't be everything to everybody, and understanding how important it is to train the people that are an extension of you was huge. And it was really all on me, just surrendering to that and I'm still, my team will tell you I'm still a little bit of a micromanager, asking lots of questions, and I'm getting better. I'm working on it. Working on going on vacation without doing nothing real estate. So I'm still a work in progress, but essentially the core has given me the foundation of what I have for the new firm. And then Chris Finney at Ivy Point and Finney Law Firm, he did all of our legal stuff for the transition. So
Awesome.
those two things were what really helped me.
Awesome. And then, once you basically quote hung a shingle and you've kind of built this business over the last 6 years, are you really focused on particular areas because that's your bread and butter, or what is kind of your vision for your footprint with the team and the company?
So we're primarily East Side. We're in Brown County. So Brown County, Claremont County, we dip a little into Hamilton, Adams County, Highland County, Warren County. That's pretty much our centric. Now we are rural, so I can't just say we're going to do just Mount Orab or we're going to do just Anderson. But anything East Side and a hair north, we do. If there's something that we can't give, I'm really big on myself for listings, and then also for my buyer agents. If there's something that if we can't give 100% to our client and give them the best experience, then we will refer that out. So if somebody calls me and wants to see something in Mason, I'm not an expert in Mason. If somebody wants to see something in Kentucky, I'm not licensed in Kentucky, but even within Ohio, I'm really, people probably don't think this because they think I just collect all these listings, but we refer a lot of business for people maybe moving into the area that need to sell. And I think that's important because if I tried to go sell a house in Mason, I know I can client the best experience that they're going to get from a rock star agent there. So I know it takes a village, and that's what we focus on.
Okay. And so your village, you guys do a lot of transactions. I mean, I think the last count, I haven't looked at the magazine that we just got, but last count you were in the top 5 in just an enormous amount of transactions. How involved is Ragan in each? How involved are you in each transaction?
Okay, well, to answer your question, I was very involved to when the market exploded, less involved and got way far away from what our business model is of being relationship oriented. So number one, we do not pay for any leads. So we don't Zillow Premier Agent, we don't Realtor. I don't pay for a single lead. Everything is 100% referral based. We do an enormous amount of marketing, but we do not pay for any kind of lead generation program. And the involvement when I was crazy busy was very little. It was about just being able to, it was appointment, because I do all of the listings.
Mm-hmm.
We just started in the last month allowing our agents to do their own listings. So that's taken a little bit of the pressure off of me, but we are back to the way we started, and I have all points of contact with the client. So I go to the listing appointment, I bring it back. Victoria, the listing coordinator, does our paperwork, schedules the pictures, all of that. So basically the front facing pieces I'm involved with. Our transaction coordinator does present like the inspection addendum, but I will do a follow-up call. So I make sure that I'm involved in the key pieces, the initial appointment, presenting the offer. I present all the offers. And then if following up with the inspection addendum to make sure that they're, if they have any questions with that, and then I attend closing. So those are the 4 pieces I try to make, when we do a lot of business, and it's really hard to make all the closings. And I think that's something that's super important. So that's my big goal right now, is for me to be to all, if not most of the closings.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that, and I think just to clarify, you said that that's on the listing side that you're handling that stuff. Are you presenting offers on the buy side as well? Or like, what does that process look like on the buy side?
So what'll happen when a lead comes in, we have a girl here that kind of does she's like our lead coordinator. So she kind of vets the buyer, makes the first point of contact. Are you approved? Are you not approved? Before we were just sending them straight to lenders, and we felt like we were kind of losing them. But again, the market was so crazy. I think all of us were just trying to survive at that point. So now it's back to taking good care of them and knowing that not everybody that calls us is going to get qualified. Hey, do you have a job? How long have you been on your job? Not that we're trying to do the job of the lender, but also we know that if we're going to send somebody over, potentially to get pre-approved, that they're going to have a chance at it. Not that they don't have an income or they haven't had, a job for, more than 6 months. So once that comes in and she does that, then we send it out. We have like a group chat, so to speak, and to see, we try to team people up with personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So when that person calls in, we try to make sure, that they get teamed up with one of our agents, but also we sell the whole team. So it's really important that when she makes that point of contact with the lead, we try to use that triangle of trust of, you're going to get Jeff, but you also might get Tara, or you could get, Beth. We're all here to make sure you can get into that property right away. It's not going to be like, well, I have an appointment at 11, so I can show you next Tuesday. No, we work as a true team, and none of our team members take from each other. So, I know when I worked at the former brokerage, it was like, if you show it, there was an expectation of something in return. Mm-hmm. We are 100% working for the client, not to get something in return from each other. And we all help each other out. So it's never an issue.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And so with the rural community, do you feel like the rural buyer is a lot different than the urban buyer or even the suburban buyer? And so do you feel like that changes your sales process a little bit?
I mean, Yeah, yes, they are different. And it just kind of depends on, I don't know that it's so much the demographic of where they're buying as, are they a first time buyer? Are they a first time buyer in a rural area? That does look a little bit different than a first time buyer in an urban area. And kind of knowing the demographics of the buyer as well as what they're wanting helps us to identify who we're going to place them with. And the process is always the same. Everybody
Sure,
gets the same treatment. So whether you buy a $4,000 house or a $400,000 house, you're going to get the same treatment.
sure. And I think like to an extent, you probably have when you're showing properties or even listing properties in the rural market, you're going to have outbuildings and things like that. And so you've got you've got to have all that knowledge behind it to know what's going to work, what's going to need to be repaired, what, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So
That's really important. And we try to identify that stuff in our listings because, a lot of agents, there was a big surge in agents when COVID hit. So, everybody was looking for what they think is a flexible job. And we've seen a huge surge of new agents. And, I know everybody has a job, everybody wants to feed their families, but it's so important to know what you said. If it's a USDA loan that we can't have chipping paint or broken windows, if it's more than 10 acres, there's certain qualifications for certain types of loans. Sometimes you have to have a stove. So it's very important to know the loan that the buyer has, as well as what the requirements are. So we're not going back and forth. And, even just we do a lot of manufactured homes.
mhm,
There's a lot of agents that don't know that, prior to a certain year, you can't do a USDA loan on a manufactured home.
mhm,
And I've even had lenders that'll call me and say, with a pre-approval, we can do this. And, my answer always to that, send me something in writing that shows me that you can lend on this property. And, when they go to their higher up or they dig into it a little more, they realize they can't. So being educated, when you're showing it, but also on the list side, when the offer comes in, we look at the offer and go through the contract. And I know that's a manufactured home and a USDA loan before we even I'm not going to call the seller and get them excited that they have an offer on something that, we're going to call that agent. Hey, can they do a different type of financing? So it
sure,
needs to happen on both sides.
sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different, particulars that you've got to keep track of. Um, okay, again, question that's off the script, but with the number of transactions that you do, and we've just come through this really kind of crazy season of 20 and 21 to where now we've potentially had a little bit more of a time to breathe. I don't want to say slow down, but time to breathe. What is your team's strategy? Like, buyer calls you tonight at 6 and says, I want to see the property at 7. You believe in culture, you believe in family, you believe in all of these things. Are you trying to be more professional and really kind of pump the brakes and say, hey, we've got to go through this process before, we're going to run out away from our family to show you a house tonight or whatever? Like, what's that look like for you because you're doing so many transactions?
So you kind of just nailed it. Family life is very important to myself, and it's important for me, for my employees. So we have also two showing assistants. So, and I guess I should have mentioned that when we were talking about the team structure. So aside from buyer agents, I have two showing assistants, and they are set schedules, and that's what they do, is just show houses. So there is somebody that works until, well, now we only show to dark. So they will work, from 11 to dark or 11 to 7, whatever that looks. It's getting dark earlier now, so it's probably like 7.
Sure.
But if somebody calls in at 6 o'clock and says, hey, I want to go show this house, we're not going to jump in the car and go show them. We're going to have a conversation. And I'm big on not texting until after conversation. So I want to have a phone call with you. I want to know if you're a human, and I want to see, if I'm going to take some time away from people that are invested, I want to know that you have some skin in the game too. So the conversation looks like, what are you looking for? Have you been looking? Are you working with another agent? I can't tell you how many times we get clients that are working with other agents that maybe don't want to drive out our way. Have the listing agent go show it. I'll write the contract. I don't work that way. If you want to give us a referral fee, we'll be happy to show it to you, but I'm not going to go do your job and let you write the contract. So do you have an agent that you're working with, is the number one question. Do you have a lender? Are you pre-approved? We will show one property once we've kind of vetted the buyer before we, require a pre-approval. After that, it's, we insist that they have some pre-qualification in order to go look at it. But we're going to, if somebody calls at 6 o'clock, we're not going to run out the door. No.
Sure. So, and I don't know the legal side of, on the real estate business, but do showing assistants, are they licensed people, or are they strictly just opening the door, showing around? Okay. Yeah.
Licensed.
So they are licensed.
Everybody,
yeah.
Everybody in the firm is licensed except my daughter, Sophia, who's going through schooling right now.
Okay, cool. All right. And then the last kind of question that I have is, it sounds like through, over the last 6 years and with the help of professionals, you have really kind of focused on what is your highest and best use of time. And one thing that I would say to that is, when you're trying to attend all closings, I'm sure that there's an importance for you to have those in central locations so that you can be there. Like, your home turf is your office. So the more closings you can have in your office, the easier it is for you to be there. But the last kind of question that I have is, this market has changed, and you and I talked about this before we started the call, but this market has changed, and it's different. I don't say difficult, it's different. I've been in the business 20 years. I've seen this market already, like a lot of other people have. What is the best advice you have for other top producers on how you're succeeding in this market? One, and then two, how are you keeping morale up on your team in this market?
So to answer question one, a lot of people are kind of cutting back, scaling back, marketing, almost living with a fear or scarcity mindset. We're actually nose down. We're doing more, doing more marketing, trying to make sure that we are staying consistent with contacting our clients. I'm really big on staying in touch. It's not just, we sold you a house. We do daily, we call them our high five calls. Every day we're calling either current clients, past clients, leads, everybody, including myself, the operations manager, everybody's touch, even like personal people, constantly trying to build that relationship, because again, we don't pay for any leads. So having a relationship with people is really important. Being community centered. I was on Heather's call, I think it was last week or the week before, and she kind of said she's the mayor of her community. We joke about that too, because I go to the football games. I go to, we live in a subdivision now. We had a huge Halloween party and invited everybody. So being super involved in the community. Also, I know that sometimes when, and this is hard to say, but like when there's top agents, and I remember feeling like this when I get started, there's almost I think people have a perception of who I may be. But what I would say to that is, give me the opportunity to show you who I really am, because what I really thrive on, I've built my business, but what I love right now is seeing other people grow. And right now, I love talking about this. I love to see people succeed. And as far as my agents go, keeping the morale up, is letting them know that when it gets hard, that's when you want to, again, nose down, because when it gets easier, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I did that. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to jump out of this business, and we're not going anywhere. So right. do the work and it'll be worth it. So just letting them know, and that I'm super proud of them. I have an amazing team, and they all work really hard at everything they do. And it's we're not letting up on the brakes. Actually, we're throttled down.
That's great. That's great. Okay, I know because the people that are here as attendees and that are watching. Okay, cool. Patrick's gonna take our first question, but I know Jackie said she's traveling and Lindsay's at home because a lot of schools don't have kids or don't have the students in today. So if anybody has a question for Ragan, I want to encourage you to ask it, and you can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat. But Patrick said, being the mayor of your area, what percentage of your business is in Brown County? And then he said he assumes you also have a good grasp on Claremont.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know the exact statistic, but I would say 70% is in Brown County. We have a good chunk in Claremont County as well. Like I said, we dip into Hamilton, dip into Adams. Anytime it gets out of our area of expertise, though, I'm big on referring, because if I can't go in and do 100%, I'm not going to do it. And I let the client know, I think that, being involved, like I'm in Mount Orb, but I also support the other local school districts. I don't just focus on one. And I don't know, we donate a lot. We give a lot.
Sure. And I mean, I imagine that the referral fee, I've heard numbers in the past, but I mean, people think that that's a lot smaller percentage, but when you virtually don't have to do much for it, that's
You don't touch it.
because this is a business-minded call, that's a great profit for your team or your company or your brand or whatever. It's a low touch, like you just said, and a percentage of somebody else's work. So it's fantastic. So
yeah, and I think there's a big perception of, it's just me, gimme, and you don't. I try to tell my agents, if it's outside of your area of expertise, refer it out, because we do a 25% referral, but also my second home is in Tennessee. I'm a big Norris Lake lover, and I'm not licensed there, primarily because my family wouldn't want me to work the whole time I was there. But I refer a lot of business to and from there. So, we've made friends there that live in Cincinnati that I've made contacts with. And then I have people that want to buy at Norris, and, they reciprocate that referral fee to me. So the referral fee works outside of the state, and people have asked me, well, won't you get licensed in Kentucky, and why don't you get licensed in Tennessee? Right now we're just we have more business right now than, and I don't want to say that we can handle, but I need more agents. So if there's anybody listening, we really need some more agents. And maybe I'm too picky on who we pick, but people that want to do this full time and work for the client, not for the paycheck.
Sure. Quick, I have a question follow up, but you mentioned that you're all referral based, and now you're really focused on working that database of past referrals. What you mentioned, I think you called it your Power Five, or your
high five.
High five. Okay. What does it look like for you in kind of managing and working through your database with your team? How do you market to them, et cetera?
So, well, we have we have our CRM. So it's really important that you have a CRM that keeps track of everybody's birthdays. So use you for example, we closed a house a month ago. I would reach out to you and say, hey, it's been a month. You've probably settled in. How's it going? Oh, it's great. But, the toilets are leaking. Well, hey, you have a home warranty. I'd be happy to connect you with this. Just knowing that you're kind of a go-to person after that. And then we have Christmas coming up. So I'm going to send you some kind of little Christmas thing. We used to have big events, and then with COVID, we got away from that. So we are talking right now about whether we're going to do another event for our clients. And then in another 3 months, we're going to follow up and say, hey, you've been there 6 months, just kind of looking for pressing points, what's going on. And a lot of times just by listening, it's never a sales call. So that's what I always tell my team. We are not calling to sell them anything. We're not looking for a listing. We're calling to see how they are. What are they doing? Their forward calls, either family, occupation, relationships, and something else. So we're always looking for some kind of pressing point on what we can do to help them. And, we just had a girl, she had foot surgery. So she has a little boy, and her husband works all the time. So we send them dinner a couple nights a week. Nice. And she put it on Facebook, Ragan's the greatest thing ever, because she sent me La Rosa's one night and Butterbees the next night. It didn't cost me very much money. And she knew I was thinking of her. So letting people know that we're not just here to sell them something, that we're actually here if they need something. Letting them know that you need a roofer, you need a plumber, you need an electrician. We'd be happy to refer our people. We just bought a moving truck, and it's kind of cheesy, but it's buy or sell with me, use our truck for free. And aside from our clients getting to use it, we've had other community people using it. We just had a lady, her daughter, she bought a house with us a couple of years ago, and she's like, I don't know if you do this, but her daughter got married this weekend. She used it to move stuff. Our moving truck was at the wedding with 450 people, so just knowing that, and there, we didn't charge anything. We just, go ahead and use it. And when you're done, bring it back. And, little things like that, knowing that it always goes back to doing something without expecting something in return.
Sure. Any other questions from anybody on here?
Is Patrick got any parties coming up? I always say I'm gonna come, but I haven't made it yet.
I know we just had one a couple weeks ago that I was at, and it was great. I talked to him about the Christmas party or the holiday party coming up, so I think he's working on the details for that.
Yeah, we just sorry about that. We just finalized December 15th. So
Where's it at? Is that like during the day or is it night?
it's gonna be 3 to 5. It's gonna be at March 1st again. We rented the whole back room. So we'll have appetizers and drinks, and then we're gonna do an ugly sweater party. Try to keep the theme and have some big prizes and stuff like that for the ugliest sweaters and stuff like that. So bring the team, have everybody dress up, because there's gonna be some great stuff there. But we'd love to see you again.
Okay.
I love supporting you, Reagan. I love listening to what you have to say, and the way your growth has been over the last few years is unprecedented. So
Thank you. I've been blessed. I love to do it, and I don't know. I don't ever get up and think I don't want to go to work.
That's great. That's great. Well, Regan, I really, really appreciate your time today, and you know, just how this kind of came about. And I think that you've had a lot of valuable tips and insight. I know personally, agents that I work with, the questions that I typically ask are questions that they've asked me. So the, you know, there is a thirst to know how to build, and then when to build and who to hire, and the demographic and the you know, geographic area is a really big thing too. I think it's great that you're, again, staying within your strength of Mason's not my area, so I'm going to refer that out, you know, right?
Yep.
So that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah. And thank you to all that attended, and then we'll push this recording out so that more and more can watch. We're getting some traction on the YouTube channel as well. So thank you all.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Have a good day.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.